Hey, it's Miss West Social Studies class. We're going to be talking about imperialism. I know, it's a long word. Imperialism is easy. It's when one country takes over another country. Why? Why do they take over? Probably because they've got some things in that country that other countries want. So imperialism, one country takes over another country. The first cause is nationalism. Pride in your country. So you think your country is so awesome that you're going to spread your culture all over the world. You're going to create a big empire. The more land you have, the bigger your empire, the better you are. The second thing would be industrialism. So now that all these countries have factories, they're like, where should we get some natural resources for our factory? The answer is in imperialism. They're like, let's go take over that other country, steal their natural resources, make them into cool stuff, and then we'll sell those items back to that country. They're going to make money like crazy. Colonies equal profits. So when you take over a country, you're going to get some mad dough. The Industrial Revolution inspired European countries to search for new places to colonize. They're going to have new markets to sell all of their items made in the factories, like slinkies and bouncy balls. And they're going to get the cheap raw materials. All of that is going to bring that European country, or it could be America or another country, any country that's being imperialistic, it's going to bring them power and glory. But they also think that they're helping those other countries that they conquered, because they go into Africa where people are like living in little huts and they don't have the factory-made items, and they're like, listen, your life is not complete without this bouncy ball. So they're thinking that they're benefiting those countries that they take over. And when they take over, there are two types of rule. Direct rule. Direct rule is like they live there directly. So if Great Britain goes in and takes over Djibouti, Djibouti is a country in Africa, look it up. It starts with a D. It's on the eastern side. Look it up. So if Great Britain comes and takes over Djibouti, and a British person moves to Djibouti, and they are telling the people what to do and running the government, that means that they are under direct rule, because the person is there telling them what to do. Then there are two types of indirect rule. The first is a protectorate. That means that the people of Djibouti have their own government, but Great Britain has the final say on important things. And then the last thing would be sphere of influence. That means that Great Britain is the mother country, but that just means that they are the only country that can trade with Djibouti. All right, so we're going to talk about Southeast Asia, and then we're going to talk about Africa. Southeast Asia. So Europeans, during our Age of Exploration unit, at the very beginning of the school year, Europeans went into Asia for silks and spices. They went into the East Indies, and they went into the Philippines. So, basically, now the Europeans are going to go back to Southeast Asia. Of course, they still want to have control over the little island countries, but now they want to go into mainland Asia. And if you remember from before, mainland Asia had taken on an isolationism policy. They were isolating themselves from the West. Well, then they saw that the West had all these cool new inventions and products, so they're a little bit more open to hearing what these guys have. They don't want to be as isolationists. In the Asian mainland, they have cash crops. They also have raw materials like tin, rubber, and petroleum. I know what you're thinking. What is this thing on the tree right here? It's a rubber tree. And if you look at my playlist for 7-4, Standard 7-4, I have a video on there that's taken from someone else's on YouTube or whatever, but it shows you how they harvest rubber, and it's super cool. You should check it out. So Great Britain goes in to Southeast Asia. And here's this guy right here, Thomas Stamford Raffles. He founded Singapore. Then Great Britain took control of the rest of the Malay Peninsula. So here you can see Singapore, Malay Peninsula. Now Great Britain has a little bit of this mainland area, and they're super happy. Yay! Then the British East India Company. They take over India. And we're going to talk more about them a little bit later when we talk about the Sepoy Rebellion. But the British took over India and kicked out the other European countries and basically formed this type of company, the British East India Company. Captain James Cook claimed Australia. It was first used as a place where they sent the bad guys, the prisoners. They're like, let's get these guys out of Great Britain. Let's take them to this weird place called Australia. Then they found gold there, which is awesome. They also probably realized that, like, Australia is gorgeous and awesome and warm and beautiful. Not like Great Britain. I mean, Great Britain might be beautiful, but it's definitely not warm. So it was a great place for the prisoners. They also had kangaroos. I mean, hello. Here you can see this kangaroo. He was pretty excited with those prisoners. Great Britain takes New Zealand. The British went to war with the Maori people in New Zealand. The British are like a huge, powerful force at this time. So the British win. When they attack like native people, the British win. So the Maori people lost, and Great Britain ruled them indirectly, meaning they had their own type of government, but the British had the final say. So France sees that the British are like going crazy, taking over all these awesome places. And the French are like, what? We need some of that. So the French also become imperialistic. They go into Southeast Asia and they declare Vietnam a protectorate. And that's a picture of Vietnam. Isn't it gorgeous? Here it is on the map right here. Okay? So like here's China, Vietnam. All right. So that's Southeast Asia for you. Great Britain took over most of Southeast Asia. Now let's talk about the scramble for Africa. Africa is a place with a boatload of natural resources, so everybody's like, I want a piece of that. And so here in the 1800s, you can see that Africa is pretty independent, does its own thing. By 1913, it's completely taken up except for two areas, Liberia and Ethiopia. All right, so here we go, scramble for Africa. In the 1500s, European traders started building trading posts along the western coast of Africa. We learned that at the beginning of the year, the Portuguese, that would come from right here, they set up trading posts. Then eventually they start the triangular trade, bringing slaves over to the Americas, bringing manufactured goods, or like guns, pots, pans, that sort of thing, into Africa. 300 years later, they divide the country into several areas of control. I don't know why I keep doing that. Let me bring that back. Okay, here we go. The Suez Canal. So the Suez Canal is here. It's in Egypt. Think of like 6th grade when you learned about the Fertile Crescent. So it's near that. There's like a little like piece off of Egypt and it goes between it. Anyway, so the Suez Canal is going to link this sea to this sea right here. So you've got the Mediterranean Sea and the Red Sea. Now see that little teeny piece of land? Now if they could easily get there from this sea to this sea, they wouldn't have to travel all the way around Africa to get over here to Asia. Like, look at that. That's a really long trip. They have to start over here, probably stop here at the tip of Africa, Cape Town, take a potty break, and then go all the way around. It's going to take a boatload of time. Instead, if they could just get through this little area here, it would cut that trip down like majorly, and it would save them tons of time and money. So they're going to build this Suez Canal. So de Lesseps of France, he signs a contract with Egypt. He's going to build the canal to connect the two seas together. Everybody's like, good idea, France. But France is like, I need some money. That's going to cost a lot of money. So France sells stocks to raise money to build the canal. We've talked about stocks before, and we'll talk about them more later on. But basically, you sell like ownership of the canal, a piece of that business, to other people so that you can raise money to build it. So they build the canal in 1875. The Ottoman Empire is broke, so they sell their shares of the canal to the British. The British is coming. They take over. The Egyptians are like, no. The British are like, we will control you, and they put down the revolt. And then the British are ruling over the Egyptians, and Egypt is a protectorate. And here you can see this little mummy with a British flag. Yay. All right, the rest of Africa. Africa has tons of natural resources. So by 1900, all of Africa is under European control except for Liberia and Ethiopia. They're going to take advantage of these natural resources. You got gold, animal hides, diamonds. Have you seen the movie Blood Diamond? Ivory, and palm oil. And everyone that goes in and takes over Africa is like, yay, natural resources! And they're able to expand their empire, get natural resources, get markets to sell all of their goods. They're going to make tons of money. All right, so those are the basics of imperialism. Southeast Asia, Africa, some of the European countries that go around snatching things up. Here are some response questions. I want you to respond to the video in the comments below. Try to write in complete sentences because that's the appropriate way to answer a question. You can answer any question or all of the questions, and no peeking at other people's answers. I want your own words here. So there are your response questions, and I will see you in class. Have a good day.